We talked about this earlier because, as you know, my background was as a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, and I handled some cases when we were calling it RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. And I do recall one medical expert referring to it as the trash can diagnosis. And I think that goes back to a comment you made earlier about it being basically when you've excluded everything else, you come to this diagnosis, and I think that's what he was trying to convey when he said trash can diagnosis.
I think that's probably how a lot of people think about it. Here recently, I've actually seen some clients that were diagnosed within 2 or 3 weeks of the injury, which I'd never seen that over 10 or 15 years.
Right.
Usually, it's almost a year, maybe 2 or 3 years down the road before this comes up as a diagnosis. But one of the problems about it is the way it's diagnosed. There's actually a dispute in the medical community, as I understand it, about the specific criteria for the diagnosis. In the workers' comp setting, we use the AMA guides to determine impairment ratings, and they have a specific criteria to determine an impairment rating for RSD.
Okay, so it is in the AMA guides.
It is, yeah, which were promulgated in November 2000. They're only 18 years old. And if you know anything about the process, about how these guides are developed, we're about ready to come out with the 7th edition, which probably they started maybe 7 or 8 years ago. So there's about a 2 or 3 year lag time, I think, between the time they're actually published and the last medical research was performed. So we're actually talking about diagnosis criteria that was set out about 20 years ago. And most people I know, most providers I know that deal with RSD have a different set of criteria. It's not as formal, and it's not as complicated as the diagnosis criteria that's set out in AMA guides. When you have a medical provider that comes up with their own diagnosis, if they're a qualified an anesthesiologist or a pain doctor or something like that, that diagnosis is usually accepted by the administrative law judge in the workers' compensation system, even though it runs contrary to the AMA guides. I'm getting a little bit technical with all this stuff, but
sure.
The bottom line is the diagnosis is not something that is commonly agreed to as far as the criteria. There's several people out there, several different groups that have different diagnostic criteria. And as long as the physician's respected, that's usually also respected by the administrative law judge in law.
Okay.